All right, next gear review. 1978-ish. I'll put the actual date of this if I can find it. I'll look the serial number up. There's a website that I use, and I'll flash an image of the website if you have some Sansui gear, some other manufacturers as well. You can throw the serial number in here, and according to this website, it'll spit out a day and or a month and a year to let you know. So I haven't done that yet on this, but this is 78-ish, 79-ish Sansui G8000. Now this one's led a little bit of a rough life. This is one that's just kind of crossing my bench, checking it out, making sure everything is good on it. Manufactured again 78 to 79, 120 watts per channel. This was a part of, it's kind of hard. So like, where did this fall in the series? Sorry, my lavalier mic will not stay on my shirt. I apologize. It's like if I take a breath, it just wants to fall off. But anyway, I'll pull down a product catalog, kind of show you, at least try to show you where this landed in the lineup. So you had a couple of unicorns. I've never seen the two top of the line receivers, right? The G22000, the G33000, never come across those, seen pictures of them. The ones that I have encountered though, I've worked on a couple of, I think this is the second 8000. I've had an 8500, I think, or a 9500. I don't remember if those even exist. But for all practical purposes, if you take the two unicorns out of the mix, you've got the G9000, the G8000. So the G8000 would be kind of like second to the top of the line, again, omitting the two unicorns. But then you had a 7000, a 6000, a 5000, a 3000, and a 2000, right? So I guess technically this is middle of the pack, right? But really, for all practical purposes, it's kind of second in line, right, to a receiver within the series that you'll actually come across. These are kind of unique. So a couple of things on this. Hookups are pretty easy, but on the 8000, hookups are on the sides, right? So you've got speaker terminals here. You have the power and preamp RCA inputs and outputs here. You also have a connected and separated switch if you want to run, the preamp separate from the amplifier on this. We've got all of our hookups on this side, right, including the FM antenna. So there's really nothing on the back besides two outlets, right? So you can have switched or unswitched. In terms of using this, I mean, you can see it's got controls, galore. A couple of speaker on-off for A and B. We've got tone control in or out, audio muting, so it's like a minus 20 decibels. You have tone controls, right? Bass, mid, treble, volume, loudness filters. You got subsonic high. You have loudness on or off, balance tuning, FM muting, stereo mono mode, Dolby FM emphasis for Dolby FM, MPX noise canceller. Don't really know what that does. mic level mixer. You've got two selector knobs, I guess. So one is for tape and one is for every other input. And then you have a quad or 4-channel noise reduction adapter. I guess you can run either one. I don't know. I don't know much about these at all. I just wanted to shoot this one because although I'll get into this in a minute, not really my cup of tea, but it is kind of cool looking, right? These are highly sought after. So, in terms of operating one of these, you could kind of get lost in these controls, right? This one has actually been dropped at some point, which is unfortunate. There's some damage here to the glass where someone actually squirted some clear glue in here. Not sure what happened there. There's kind of a ding up here. It's got scratches on the top, and this looks a little bent, looks a little crooked, right? But anyway, what do I know about the series? And I'm going to be upfront and honest with you. Although a lot of people, say that this was Sansui's, last great effort at building some quality gear, I'm really not down with this series from Sansui. Aesthetically, the 9090 I think is a better receiver, right? 8080 would be probably a more direct comparison. You know, those, the 8080s, 9090s, at least the 9090s came with, you know, wooden cabinet. This is just vinyl veneer, so it is wood, but there's a vinyl veneer on top. It makes it look really super cheap. I like the aesthetic on the 9090 better with the contrasting dark and light. You know, I do love meters, so I think that's cool. Those are cool. But I just, there's something about this particular series, and I think it's because of the crappy veneered cabinet, and it's just really flimsy. Like there's, I don't have a lot of confidence in this cabinet, right? So you know, in my opinion, I think this was kind of a step down quality wise for Sansui. But again, that's just my opinion. This one's all scratched up too. It's got scratches on the glass. It's led a pretty rough life. So again, not my aesthetic, just not my jam. I guess this one is not one of my favorites. Not to say it's ugly, but you know, if you like it, great. That's cool. In terms of sound, I will say that the sound, I think this honestly sounds a bit thin on top. It's very clear. It's direct coupled. But again, I've just went through a long stretch of cap coupled receivers and amplifiers, and that's what I listen to most of the time. So come across one of these direct coupled receivers, very clear, very punchy, right? It's just very thin to me, but that's, and again, this is this particular Sansui. I don't know that I've ever been impressed by any of the 8000s or 9000s I've come across. So I would guess that that's maybe characteristic. You have to have the right speakers, listen to the right music, all that kind of stuff. You know, in terms of picking one of these up, so things to look out for, I couldn't find much in terms of common issues. I've never really encountered any issues with the ones that I've serviced. The one thing that I read up on was sometimes the separated, right, the preamp and the power amp little sliding knob button, I guess, or slider, I guess. Sometimes that'll be dirty, so you have to clean that. But I couldn't find any common issues with these. Like, you know, if you get one, you have to replace this, or you have to look at this, or you have to do this. Couldn't find anything on this one at all. So I would say they're fairly reliable. So, you know, in terms of common issues, I don't know of any, and I haven't encountered any. The big thing on these, and I have come across the last two were actually missing I think it was a volume control, right? So volume control, somebody was asking $300 for one of these, right? So if you're looking for one of these to get into, to either purchase or, you know, work on, knobs, buttons, right? Make sure these are there. And if not, you will want to look to make sure you can find one. When I was looking for one for the last, it might have been an 8500. It was probably an 8000. It took me about 5 months to find one. And I just grabbed the first one and I overpaid for it. I mean, not crazy. I didn't pay $300, but I know I paid well north of $100 on it. Right. So definitely make sure that all of the knobs are here. All of the little switch covers are here. The glass, again, this glass is all scratched and beat to hell. You know, that is not going to be probably easy to replace if that were shattered. But I'm not a glass guy either. It's beveled glass, right? So it's not just a flat piece of glass in there. It's actually beveled on top and bottom. Maybe on the sides too. No, just top and bottom. So, you know, you got to look out for that. Cosmetics would be big on this one. The cabinet, because it's that crappy vinyl veneer, you're not going to be able to repair it. You could re-veneer it. I don't know that it would do much to it. I mean, that cabinet is just so flimsy that I wouldn't even waste time doing it. I would just shove this in a pre-existing cabinet and just kind of hide the top and the bottom. So as far as I know, things to look out for, just really cosmetics on this one. In terms of price, there's not a lot of pricing information out there on this one, right? So, and I want to say the last couple that we sold at 402 Vinyl were between $1,500 and $2,000, right? In roughly similar condition to this one. None of them have been perfect. you'll see, and I'm going to flash up the obligatory, what is this person thinking? You'll see prices for these that are absolutely crazy. $3,500, $4,000. Like it's just, it's kind of crazy to me. I would never pay that for one of these. Honestly, I don't know that I would even pay the $2,500, right? But the range that I found, and I'll flash up some sales, you know, they went from about, I think it was either $1,700 or $1,800, all the way up to about $2,500 when you factor in shipping. I would say the range on this, and again, I couldn't even find any 4 parts, and that's a good sign, right? So you're not seeing many of these that are kind of blown up. But I would say a realistic range would be somewhere between $1,500 and $2,500 for one that's working, all based on condition. And one for parts, I really couldn't see you getting into one of these for less than $700 or $800. I mean, I think that's just how it is with some of these older Sansuis. You know, I think you could get into a 9090 a little bit cheaper, but maybe not. I don't know. Again, I could only find three sales on this, and these don't come up very often. Again, in the last 3 or 4 years, or 3 years that I've been doing stuff for 402 vinyl, I think I've come across 2 other ones. So I don't know that they're very common out there in the wild. Right, so I know this was a quick one. I really didn't have much to share on this one. I don't have a lot of personal experience with it, but while I was here, I thought, well, this is kind of a unique one that we're not going to see that often. So I would shoot a real quick review video on it. Again, I'm not dogging this one out, but I am saying it's just not my thing, right? And I don't know what it is about these. It might just be the quality, right? The quality of the parts used and the craftsmanship. Right, at least aesthetically. But again, I prefer late 60s, early 70s stuff where they were built like tanks. And there was a little bit of pride in, you know, the craftsmanship. You know, going into 1980, everybody was cutting corners, cutting costs. You know, and you could put, you didn't have to put as much time or energy or effort or frankly care into producing some of this stuff. So anyway, I'm just rambling now, and I don't want to rip on this one any more than I have already. But yeah, that'll wrap it up for the Sansui G8000. So as always, if you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.